Hey guys, welcome to Sketch a Day Live. Saturday, little experiment here. Figure most of you are at home doing something. Thought I would go live and hang out. Just got back from my run, so pardon me if I'm a little out of breath and misty. Okay, yesterday we had requests for some sports equipment and some sort of oil can or bottle. It's come up a few times, so I thought maybe we'll do some sports type stuff, just by way of information as well. A few of you are like, what pens are you using? What pens are you using? So I've tried to kind of document here a bit of kind of all the pens I use at different times. And so this will be up on the website soon with links on where to find these. So we're going to have a full, exhaustive, extensive guide for you guys. So that's what this is. And I'm going to do some smear tests as well. There was a comment that came up on the Instagram. So just a little information there. But like I said, I'm going to be using Adobe Fresco today. I don't know if you guys have used it before. On the Instagram, let's see if these lights are too bright. No, it looks like we're okay. And I'm just going to switch over here on the YouTubes. So thanks again for joining. Feel free to join along, leave comments, whatever. All right, so this is Adobe Fresco. Obviously I have a few things here already that I have worked on. But more importantly, I'm just gonna get started. You may have seen some of these pieces on the Instagram before. Let me just drop the audio a little bit. There we go. Okay. So hope you're having a happy Saturday. I'm just gonna go with letter size. One thing I have noticed with Fresco compared to something like Procreate, they're very similar in a lot of ways, but also very different. I haven't come up against any memory issues with Fresco yet in terms of the number of layers, so that's one thing I like. And then if you already have Photoshop brushes, you can bring them into Fresco. So I do have a new set of Photoshop brushes available on my website. You can check those out. They do work with Fresco. I haven't tested them in Procreate, but theoretically you should be able to import those as well. Thank you, Parth. Welcome, Nick, Hunter Pudgecat, Raul. We got lots of new people. Hello, Svetlana. Welcome back. Vivek, Tom, Sir Langstalot Production. Are you new? And Laureates. Parth, you're too kind. Parth says I deserve followers in the millions, but we'll see. Got to do the work first. All right, so let's get started. Always like to warm up, and I've gone ahead and imported my brushes into Fresco. Now, if you're used to working on a desktop, you will have your Fresco brushes show up if you import them into your library. So if you're using Creative Cloud, and Fresco is free, by the way, so you can, as long as you have a Creative Cloud license, I believe, or maybe even if you don't, you can download it and just use it. So free app, super powerful. But here's all my brushes, and they're all imported. Okay, so I'm gonna use this Blue Point pen. It's like a ballpoint Biro pen. Similar thing, 2-finger tap undo. Now, if you want to watch the actual iPad screen, you can. For those of you on Instagram, head over to the youtube.com/sketchaday.com. That's where we're hanging out, chatting, paying attention to that chat. Nick is asking, what is Adobe Fresco? Yeah, that's kind of their Procreate competitor. It has some things that Procreate doesn't have, and Procreate has some things this doesn't have. So there are times when I like to use both, but a lot of the gestures are similar. Some things are just weird right now, but if any of you have ever used Adobe XD when it first came out, you'll remember it was a steaming pile of trash until there were lots of improvements made, and Adobe moves very quickly, so it does have some issues, but there are some things I like about it, particularly being able to just take my Photoshop files. You can save them in the cloud and work with them. So I'm just warming up like I always do, except this time we are warming up digitally. So I got some straight lines, get some circles in here. Just like that. So yeah, I always try and warm up. Sometimes I'll warm up on paper if I'm doing digital, but I just felt like going for it here. You can. And the palm rejection is not as good as Procreate, I will say that, sometimes. Just make sure the tip of your Apple Pencil or stylus is close enough to the screen, and usually it does a pretty good job. Although I do have some issues with Procreate as well from time to time. It doesn't have quick shapes, so if you're used to training wheels while you draw, you're not really going to have those here. So it's kind of a free-form drawing app. They do have a snap line is what it's called, to give you straight lines if you're drawing, so it's something you can do. But you know me, I like to freehand most things, so I don't personally mind. Alright, so let's get a few more of these in. I'm using a 12.9 inch iPad Pro. This is the, I think, 2018 version, but I bought it in 2019, so that's the one I'm using. I didn't feel like I needed to upgrade to the new one just yet. There's really no use for the LiDAR sensor, and for all intents and purposes for drawing, this one does the job for me, so decided to get a new camera instead. Alright, so let's do another layer here, and let's see, what else can we practice? Oops, sorry. Hit my sleep button there. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. Super fun. If you are on Instagram and you want to catch the whole stream, you'll have to head over to YouTube. Sir Langstalot is asking, is it hard to draw on an iPad? I don't think so, personally. For me, it's not. It's a little different. Like, I've noticed that the way I think and process things on screen is a little bit different sometimes. I'm definitely a little bit more hesitant or careful, and I don't know why. I've been trying to speed up a bit digitally and just kind of treat it like I would paper. So that's something I'm personally working on, so as not to be too hesitant. So much like I do on paper, you want to hold your stylus back a little bit. You don't want to obscure what you're drawing or hide what you're drawing with your hand. So it just makes it that much harder. All right. So the idea here again, just opening up, showing a bunch of ellipses. Pretty easy to turn this into stuff. Yesterday we did an RV. We're not doing cars today. I guess I do a car every day, but just with the warm-up. And the idea here is just to show you guys the power of warming up, okay? I'll just throw some dumb headlights on here. Some sort of dumb grill. Wheels, and then let's do wheel flare and greenhouse. Greenhouse just means the cab of the vehicle, okay? But there you go. Simple car, just from warming up. As long as you pull out those shapes and get that foundation in. So let me know where you're watching from. If you're new here, how you found it. If you are new, hit subscribe, turn on post alerts, all of that good stuff. I like to go live, hang out with you guys, so there'll be more of this. If you miss a stream for some reason and you want to catch it, you can always catch the replay on YouTube. I do upload segments, as well as the stream is archived there, so you can check it out. Anderson says I should make a playlist for sketching. This is actually just a public playlist on Spotify. It's like a copyright-free lo-fi playlist, but I've enlisted the help of a friend, Paul Sohi. I need to stop working on this car. A friend, Paul Sohi, who is producing some some tracks for my channel here. So I'm gonna have my own music, which is awesome, and I won't have to use all this stuff. Okay, so let's do our first sketch, and the first request was for, and I'll do this one first. So here's one difference with Fresco, and I don't believe Procreate has this, where you actually have to rotate the canvas, because if I don't rotate the canvas, it's gonna think that the long side here is not vertical. So I actually have to rotate canvas. All right, and now I can hit OK, and it actually transforms everything. You can make groups, there's blending modes, all of that stuff. There's a question, do I draw straight on the iPad screen or have a protector like Paper-like? I just use the cheapest matte screen protector I can find, and it works pretty well. So this one was like $8. There's a little nick in the screen right now. Let's see, I'll switch to the overhead on the YouTube. You guys may be able to see it, but there's a little nick on my screen. So I actually have to replace my pad here, and or sorry, my screen protector, and that'll be better. Okay, so the first request is for an oil can, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. And I don't even feel like these are really a thing nowadays, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So I did want to show you this pen. I'm gonna zoom in so you can kind of see. So this pen, this is what I call my blue point pen. So it's like a Biro in the sense that you can build up value, and with the blue in the pen, it actually increases that value. So if you look real close, it actually gets darker, and you can have light shading, and it has texture much like you would on paper. All right. So this is the pen I'm going to use, but I'll change the color to black just because I want to, I just want to have those black lines for my sketch here. All right, so let's make a new layer. And like I said, I haven't come across any memory issues with Procreate, or sorry, Fresco, I should say. Haven't come across any memory issues. So with the number of layers I am creating, at least not yet. All right, so let's just start with simple cylinder here, and I'll just make sure my color is different. Set to black. Just tap that. And I'm going to start with just an elliptical shape over here, and then how about we do this, make sure it's in 3-point instead of 2-point. So if it's in 3-point, we're going to have some taper down, and I can do my ellipse on the bottom here. Let's go a little bit smaller on this ellipse on top. And if this ellipse is this tight here, it just means that my horizon line is probably somewhere about here. So any other ellipses I put on this, okay, are going to kind of face the other way. And my oil can needs a handle, and I've got to decide which way. I'll have the handle go this way. So a little bit wider here. Just throw in a line. The reason I call it blue point is the brush by default has the blue color on it. And so when you do switch it to black, it does feel a bit more like a pencil, but still will have that build up, okay? So I can go light, come in, and just pull out lines where I want them to be. And maybe on this one I'll use my digital markers and see how we do. That is incorrect, so I'm going to fix this. So like I said, right here, and I've got to remember, because I'm used to drawing things kind of top down. So I just got to remember now, below the horizon line we have a downward curve at the horizon line straight, and then above we'll start to curve again. Alright, so just have to remind myself of that. I threw this line in because I want to have something of an oil spout. Not sure what you call that, but I'll just throw those lines in for now, real quick. Thank you, Hudge. Hunter Pudgecat, I mean. Yeah, my perspective here, I just have to remind myself that's where my horizon line is. So everything above is going to have a different look than everything below. And I just have to remind myself. All right. There was a question that I received via DM about kind of darkening ellipses. See, this is where like I keep undoing the line, but that's just habit, right? It's just digital sketch habit. So I'm going to try and be a bit more deliberate with this sketch and get out of that undo mindset. Again, something I'm just personally trying to work on. All right, so this kind of addresses that question, you know, how do you darken an ellipse? I just try and swing as clean of an arc as I can if I'm working digitally, right? And then just kind of touch it up and fix it where I need to. So that's kind of how I do it. All right, so now we need to have, looks like some sort of handle on this. Okay, handle and a pump. So the pump, I'm gonna just draw a line here. Actually, maybe something like this, right, for this little pump lever. And we can sketch in real light, just like we would with a ballpoint pen. And now for the handle, I'm going to connect it to this collar. So the handle's going to stick back here. And let's drop down. Again, for those on the Instagram, this stream will only go about an hour. So, and I usually go about an hour and a half, sometimes two. So if you want to catch the full stream, head over to youtube.com/sketchaday.com. I actually bought the domain name sketchaday.tv. I'm thinking about without hyphens because I know that's kind of been an issue where actually I'm going to call up my friend Hector. I'm going to go on a podcast Sunday and he put my URL in without hyphens and I was like, come on, man, you know. But I know it's hard to remember, it's hard to type, so I'm thinking about changing my URL to sketchaday.tv. We'll see. Or maybe it'll just forward to the YouTube. All right, little offset here. Okay, for a handle, I'm gonna tweak this ellipse on the far side, just right there. I can tell it's a little bit off. One of the cool things with Fresco is if you want to erase, there's this little thing on the screen, this little circle in the lower corner. And if I tap and hold, you notice it gets a little bit bigger. So that circle. So it actually turns the brush that I'm using into an eraser. And now I can just come in and erase. So it's a quick way to modify your active tool. Instead of me having to tap erase, just gives me a fast way to make that switch. And I forgot, I think it's called the touch modifier. I don't remember the correct name for the tool, but I'll have to ask the guys at Adobe or just check the manual. The other cool thing with Fresco too is they're really trying to listen to designers, illustrators, creators to see like, okay, what kind of features would you like in a drawing app? So I've made some recommendations and those recommendations have made their way into the app. So it's kind of cool that they are listening and hope they're trying to make a good product. There are other companies that used to have more active sketch products for tablets. I won't name names, but it's nice to see that, you know, there's active development and interest and new features being added. All right, I'm just gonna freestyle this back portion. All right, so I've got my handle now. Let's get this lever in place. All right, and usually once I get the lines to where I'm okay with them, It's usually pretty quick to get the colors if we're gonna add color. I think I will on this one. Like I said, with that marker brush. Can add shading in a couple spots just to help out. This app is called Fresco. What's up, Matt? Hello, hello, welcome. Happy Saturday. All right, so let's do an ellipse on this surface, or at least some sort of interaction. Since the surface it's intersecting with this vertical, I can do that. And then for the shape of this whole thing, maybe just throw an ellipse down, and now I can work on the transition. All right, and let's go ahead and just throw a circle right where I have this bend. And now I'll just connect like so. Yeah, I don't know who requested an oil can, I forget, but I remember seeing these growing up. Maybe this is going to age me a bit, but I remember seeing these growing up and think, oh, that's interesting or weird. Always helpful to draw through, even if you're not, if that's not part of the final design. Just helps you make sure that things are accurate and in place. You can think of drawing through almost like X-ray vision on your sketch. Just touching up some line weight. Line weight's a good way to clean up your sketch. If you're like me and sometimes you have like a hairy sketch is what I call it, but the lines are light, you can just come in with some more deliberate strokes. And that's just going to help things feel a lot cleaner. So yeah, this app is Adobe Fresco, and it is free. Just sketching a little shadow here. It is free. Let me think on this. Okay, so we're gonna have something like that, and maybe like that. I'm just kind of guessing the shadow here, guys. Guesstimating, because I don't want to calculate it. But yeah, it is free. And then there's also a bundle. If you have Creative Cloud and you're paying for Photoshop, you can also get it for free. So all right, just checking some quick reference here on the oil can again, because this is not something I typically draw, but maybe there's a label here of some sort. Or not. I mean, I can just paint this whole thing. Okay, so more importantly, I now have my sketch. Yeah, they do have red enamel for sure. But I have my sketch lines like red or green sometimes. I have my sketch lines to where I like and I'm okay with them. So now I can switch to putting color basically beneath everything here. So I'm going to do the paint and erase method. All right. I should actually turn on Do Not Disturb. Boom. So I'm going to do the paint and erase method. So just going back to my brushes, these are my Sketch a Day brushes. So I actually have markers in here as well. So let's go ahead, just pick one of these markers. All right, cool. And let's try and get some red enamel looking stuff here. So just like I would with a real marker, and these sliders or controls on the lower left of the screen, this is what you can use to control your brush. So there's a question, are the brushes default or custom? These are custom brushes I made for myself. Okay. So I'm just gonna treat this like I would a real marker sketch. And now I want to build up my shadow core. I want to show you a trick. So one thing you can do if you have a brush and you want to have this build up as you go, one thing you can do is in the brush settings here under blend mode, I can switch to something like multiply. It's either multiply or color burn. I think it might be color burn. In any case, oh, that's why, because I have a pure red, more pure red. Let's pick a little darker one, and then I'm going to go to multiply. And so now when I apply my stroke, it's actually going to build up. Like if I just kept going, see, it gets really dark. So you can play with your brush mode, and that'll give you an opportunity to have some build up, and you can essentially just use the one marker to get your values. Okay, so just a little tip for you guys if you're using brushes like this. But yes, these are available on my website. They do work with Photoshop as well, since this is Adobe Fresco. Like I said, I'm going to try and be as deliberate as I am with real markers. There's just a tendency when I'm sketching digitally to kind of hesitate. But one thing you can do digitally that you can't do on paper, of course, is erase. So I'm just going to erase a little bit here. But I'm going to try and work with what I have. So now changing my marker stroke a little bit. We'll just keep working this. All right, now I don't want a perfectly white highlight, so I'm going to pick a different red, and let's go big with the brush. I believe this, yeah, it is pressure sensitive as well. So I can essentially just get a nice fade. You can also control the flow of the brush. So if I drag this down, I can limit how much ink, if you will, is going on the canvas. So there's a lot you can play with these brushes. On top of that, if I want to, I can airbrush just to kind of give this some tone. So let's jump to my airbrushes. Someone is asking, is Fresco better than Procreate in any way? Better is such a terrible, sorry, I shouldn't say terrible, but it's not a great way to describe things, I think. Oftentimes we use the word better, but better is, sorry, I'm going off on a rant, but it's like when people say, oh, that looks really cool. It's like, what does that mean? Help me out here. What does that mean? So, in other words, better is subjective. It really just depends on what you like and how you draw. You know, Fresco is free. Some people think Sketchbook Pro is quote-unquote better because it's also free. So, better to you might mean free. I do like that there's some interplay with Photoshop. So, if I want to send this to Photoshop, I can. And if you're paying for Creative Cloud, you have what's called Cloud Documents. So now you can essentially just save your files on the iPad and then go to your desktop and they'll show up. So that's kind of nice, and everything's backed up for you. Backing up on Procreate's one of those things that keeps me up at night because there's not really a super clear way, at least for me. Maybe you guys know and you can school me and teach me, but I'm always nervous that I'll lose my files, so I'm constantly backing stuff up. It's not really an automatic backup or save, so just something different there. So yeah, a lot of that just depends on how you work, I would say. So we'll just keep playing with these layers using, this is still that marker brush, just a very small one. All right, we can keep working that. Squint your eyes, check your work. All right. So now I'm going to switch to some gray. So switch layers, switch colors. This, if it's like a chrome or shiny spout, whatever you call this, Kartik, this is Adobe Fresco is what I'm using. So if it's shiny, you're going to have some nice crisp reflections. So let me actually switch to black here, because I can get, with pressure adjustments, get what I'm after here. So yeah, this is Adobe Fresco on the iPad. They also have live brushes, which are pretty cool if you like to paint. All right, and this is just that marker brush that I made. So again, if you want to check these out, they're on my website, and they do work in Photoshop for desktop as well. So if that's how you like to work, have no fear. So for reflections, I always say just pay attention to things around you, and you'll kind of get a sense for how these work. But I like to imagine that if I'm in an environment, there are things in that environment that are essentially being reflected into these curved surfaces. So that's what's going to give you your darks, where you see them. I'm using a 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Matt's asking, do we know what we're drawing next? Yeah, I was thinking about doing a baseball glove or a football helmet. One of those two things. Hello, Arthur. Thanks for joining from Brazil. No fala português. I speak Spanish, though. I guess I understand a little Portuguese, but it's very difficult. Portuguese to me always sounds like a French person speaking Spanish. Alright, so we'll just keep using this marker. We'll finish off the handle, shadow, maybe throw a couple things in and call it good. Yeah, this is a 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And I'm just using my marker brush, trying to kind of give this a sketchy free feel. And with this brush, there's buildup, so you can kind of go over the same area a couple times and get darker values, which is nice. There's also a little pressure sensitivity as well. Thank you, Own Views. I use Procreate, I use Sketchbook Pro, I use Fresco, which is what this is, depending on what I'm doing. Actually, these will be my warm-up sketches for today. I'm thinking about doing some sort of tribute piece, not for money or fame or clout or anything, but just with everything going on. I've been processing my emotions a lot through art, and so my sister is also an artist. We've been talking about doing some pieces or something to kind of, just process through how we're feeling. So probably work on that a bit today. For the YouTubers, I just want to show you how I'm holding my Apple Pencil even pretty high up the barrel, okay? So how you hold your tool will make a difference in how those lines show up. So I had to do this part on a separate layer because there really wasn't a reliable way for me to start and stop in this little section. So just paint, and now I'm going to erase. Okay, just like that, just to clean up. And it's only erasing stuff on this layer that I just created, so just want to isolate it. Alright, so now I'll just finish up with a little bit of shadow here. Make a new layer. Let's move that and go back to my marker brush. Thank you, Blind Monkey. And AWJD. Yeah, the replay will be available on the YouTube, so if you missed some of this and you want to see it. I don't usually like to sketch like this, meaning when I shade in here, I don't usually like to move the stylus back and forth, but here's a trick you can do. So if you overshade, okay, and then erase, it's gonna look more approximate to me doing this each stroke, which is typically how I would do it with markers. I mean, it's not that much more work, so. All right, and as I get closer to the canister here, I'm gonna build up some value. But again, I created this brush to behave like a real marker would. So it has grain, it has the buildup that you'd get. It follows your stroke, which is super important, at least when you're sketching digitally. But if I zoom in real close here, you can see it has some grain and texture to it. All right. Hello, Abin. Got lots of people from India. What time is it in India right now? I always forget. Is it like 1 in the morning? I actually thought about going on last night around 11 or midnight. But I had one too many LaCroix. Not LaCroix, White Claws. So I was like, I probably shouldn't go online right now. I probably shouldn't. All right, and now I want to get a reflection. This is also the pre-release version of Fresco, so there's probably features I can't or shouldn't talk about. But we'll see. Usually they're chill though. I just want to kind of hint at some sort of reflection. So I'll knock the opacity on this layer way down. And let's see. Okay, and then this handle. So if you want to calculate a reflection, basically you just need to look at the ground and take this distance and flip it. So I'm not going to see the handle here in the reflection, so I'm not going to worry about it. I wouldn't see the spout because again, you measure the distance and then flip it, and if it falls off the page, you know that's not going to be part of it. So now I'm going to hit this toggle and I can adjust the opacity of that layer on the bottom, like so. And let's go ahead and give this a ground plane of some sort. We'll give it a background if Alex is watching. I keep giving him crap, but I'm just gonna do a little bit of gray. So I'll use one of my airbrushes here. I think one's it's called Big Softy. These aren't organized. So in Fresco, the other thing you can do is if you have favorite brushes and you want to save them, you know, so we all have brushes. I use tons of brushes, but it's nice to just get to what you want. So I can actually here tap this star, and now in this palette I have the brushes I use most of the time. So whether you have multiple kits, whatever, this is one thing I do like a lot about Fresco, okay, is some of the brush features, organization, and the interplay with Photoshop. So we can, you know, send a brush over to Photoshop or vice versa. All right, so I'm just gonna pick a gray, nice big soft airbrush, and we'll hit the ground just a little bit. Like so. And the reason, again, I made this airbrush is a lot of times the default airbrushes, they're kind of just, how would I put this? They are like this soft round opacity. They have a consistent spread to them. So in the case of erasing here, yes, I'm okay with that. But the profile on mine is a little bit different. So you're able to kind of get an intense core where you need it and back off where you don't. All right, so I do want to add a couple more things. New layer. And yes, I did recreate the stencil. It's also available for Photoshop and Fresco. 10:30 p.m. Not too bad in India. So I do have that stencil, and the whole idea with this brush, always and forever, was just to have a nice, clean digital pencil that I could use. All right, so if we need to, actually I'm gonna go over the sketch layer here because I want this to really pop. So if I got highlights or things like that, putting it on top of the sketch layer just lets it pop even more. Because now I'm painting over those black lines that were in place. This is an iPad, or iPad rather, sorry. Not an IM pad. What's up, Gabriel? So yeah, I'm using an iPad Pro. This is Adobe Fresco. It is free. All right, so if you wanted to check it out, go check it out. And I hope I'm not misquoting Adobe, but I'm pretty sure it's free. If you guys want to check it out. I probably should get rid of these two lines, so I'll go ahead and mute them at least. Just on my sketch layer, just so they're not like in the forefront, and maybe they can function more as construction lines for the shape. But since there's no actual part, I don't need those lines in the foreground. All right, and as always, sign your work. And this will be available. I'll include the PSD with all the layers, but this will be available on the Google Drive. You guys can check it out. Bean, yes, I'm an industrial designer. More importantly, a creative. I do a lot of different things. Industrial design is my training, however. All right, so let's make a new file. I'll go with letter sized. And let's see, 45 minutes. So it's not too bad. We're not too slow today. I mean, Procreate and Fresco are very similar. Price is obviously a difference. Okay, here's what I was kind of talking about before. So with Fresco and rotating canvas, Sophia's asking, could I do a live video on perspective? I could, but I do have over 300 videos on my YouTube channel, so you can check those out. There's a basics playlist there as well, and it covers tons of perspective stuff. But I rotated this canvas, and if I pinch, it resets it to the standard view. So watch, I'm gonna pinch in, and there it's portrait mode. So now I have to go to settings and rotate. So it's a little quirk, a little bit different, but there you go. Nick says, I've been sketching daily, mainly chairs, and your chair tutorials on YouTube have helped me a lot. Good to hear, bro. That makes me very happy. Very, very happy. Okay. So let's do a quick helmet sketch. I think I'll keep this one. Actually, this shouldn't be too bad. We'll just keep it like a plain white or gray helmet or something like that. I mean, I could do black too, but... So to start this, let's do red line, blue line, kind of working here. All right, so let's just get a rough sketch in, and maybe another, something like that. And I'll throw an ellipse on the bottom, and then one on this side. So the ellipse here is really the side. This is my template or frame for the side panel that you'd have on your helmet. Obviously, this is not going to be exactly a sphere, so I can take this, slightly modify it, and now draw another ellipse, like so. And if we make these a little bit bolder, I don't even know what brush I'm using. Oh, this is the default pencil. So let me jump back to my brushes. I'll just use this little marker. Okay. All right. So now I can kind of pull these shapes out, right? So if I want to now modify, I can do that. And I'm going to make sure I do it on the other side as well. Okay, so now I have these kind of side panels. And in terms of geometry, maybe some sort of cuts. Not really cuts, but, you know, shapes. And I can tie these shapes together. Maybe something like that. So with design, a lot of it anyways, I think is about finding interesting relationships between things. Should this helmet have a visor? I don't know. We are going to do the grid on the front, so that'll be challenging. So now I'm just going to scale this because I need a little bit of space for that grid on the front. Hit done. I will say the transform tool, I actually was talking with one of the engineers, or not engineers, but the designers for Fresco. I was talking with them. This is not Procreate. It's InterDev. This is Adobe Fresco. I was talking with one of them about this transform tool because right now you can't warp. It's just a proportional or, you know, non-proportional transform and rotate, and that's it. So unfortunately, you can't, you know, distort this like you would in Procreate. So now I'm gonna just take some blue ink or blue color, and let's just sketch up a grid. So, you know, helmet has... I'm not a sports ball expert or fan, so forgive me if I'm completely messing this up. But again, just thinking of this as, okay, here's an ellipse, here's another ellipse, right? And I can at least connect the outside as a start. Draw on the other side of this as well. And at least now I know where my grid's going to be. I mean, continuing with our kind of tessellated theme, maybe we go with some sort of triangle configuration, somewhat triangular configuration here. You sports ball fans probably know a lot more than I do. And that's when I'll get the messages. Well, actually... But I'll just do this to start, something like that. And really I'm just looking to the other side here and making sure I have things in place, okay, as I kind of map this out. You know, maybe this is some sort of mounting point for that. Yeah, football is one of those interesting, weird sports to me because it's so brutal in a lot of ways. Like, people get hurt and really messed up, you know. But who am I to judge? Actually, let's change the shape of the earpiece here. Let's see. How about we go with something that's maybe a reflection of this shape? Something like that. Yeah, after this is similar to using gray marker on your sketches. So if you're used to that, you know, just a way to take the pressure out of sketching and kind of block things in, and then you have a guide. You wouldn't actually see that on the other side, but maybe there's some little detail here we can pull in on the helmet. Make sure this is a lip. Yeah, I think this will turn out pretty cool. I think so. You know, we can maybe even continue this shape down and make sure that the grid on the front, you know, maybe poke that out a little bit more and have some of these lines tie in to the lines up top. So again, a lot of design for me is about just making sure things kind of relate to each other and there's a flow. All right, so now I've got this layer. Let's make a new layer. I'm gonna turn the opacity down on this. And let's go ahead and get the helmet in place. So how about we do, so I've got this fine liner as well. So this is meant to replicate the stroke you might see on something like my paper-made flare. Gabriel, no, this is Adobe Fresco. Nick's asking, have you watched The Last Dance? I haven't watched it yet. Okay, this is going to be a bit more challenging. So this is going to be like using a fine liner, like a paper-made flare. So I'm going to try and honor the strokes that I make here and just be somewhat deliberate with my strokes. So I created this brush, again, available for Photoshop. Someone was asking about pricing. Just go to the website. If you use the discount code FIRSTTIMER, and if you've never gotten anything from the site before, you will get a discount. So just a heads up, FYI, for you. Yeah, so this brush isn't really one that has a ton of variation in opacity. The idea, again, was to kind of replicate that paper-made flare where it's got a little bit of texture, some variable size to it, but what you draw is what you get. And so you want to have kind of a deliberate stroke, not really like lightly sketching stuff in, although it does have that ability. All right, so this is going to be a tough curve, so bear with me. Woo! Stretch the shoulder. Here we go. I'll be in. Yes, you can message me on Instagram. I don't always get back immediately, but I always get back in one way or another. So I shouldn't say football helmet, I guess, for those of you overseas. I should say, I'm going to keep that curve because that actually turned out okay. I should say American football helmet. Right, we'll just keep going. So my goal here is to get the outline of the helmet, and I'll show you how I'm going to do the grid after I get this part done. So to Sketch Day Live. Thanks for joining. I'm drawing a football helmet. If you're on YouTube or Instagram, sorry, the stream is gonna be ending soon. So if you want to catch the rest of this where I render it up, you'll have to catch the replay on YouTube or switch over. Head on over to youtube.com/sketchaday.com. Brushes are available on my website. And no, Gabriel, they don't come with the app, but the app is free. So think of it. And you can use them on Photoshop as well. So like I said, it's kind of like win-win as far as app stuff goes. And I believe you can import them into Procreate. If any of you do, let me know. I haven't yet. I've been meaning to try. But I do know that the Procreate brushes I've created also they work specifically well with Procreate. So I don't know much about how these might work. Alright, so what I was going to do with the grid was kind of painting gray first over everything and then just kind of outline it. So here, I'm going to make a new layer. And then let's go ahead and let's pick a solid brush. So it's just hard round brush and adjust my size and color. Something of a light gray. Have I used Adobe Sketchbook? Adobe does not make Sketchbook. Autodesk does. What's up, Alex? Yeah, Autodesk makes Sketchbook Pro. All right, so here I'm just gonna paint with just a solid brush for all these grid elements, and then I'll just come over it with my lines and tones and so forth. Yeah, let me know how you like the daily lives. And try and keep them a little shorter. This one will probably, I think I'll end after the helmet here, and then that way I'm not overdoing it too much. Alright, but basically I'm just trying to draw the grid. Actually, that curve needs to be more like, let's see, more like that. And now I can draw these pieces in. Not that you care or need to know, my mustache is tickling me today, so I don't know how much more tickling I can take. It's another reason I'll end a little early. And it's Saturday. I should be having fun. Alright, so once again, Instagrammers, head on over to sketchaday.live or youtube.com/sketchaday.com. I think it's going to end in a few seconds. I change the size fairly often for my brush. Alright, so let's make sure we connect these. Trying to just mimic these shapes on the opposite side so that we have everything in place for the grid. But again, once the grid's in place, it's really easy to then just put the lines in. So here's that layer off, and you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Alright, so that looks pretty simple. So now on a layer on top, let's jump back to, I forgot what pens, oh, I was using the fine liner. I'll make that a favorite. So it's in my favorites palette. Forgive me while I just upload this real quick. Almost done. I feel like I need an assistant when I record. Because it's like, it's really hard to to do so many things at once, you know? Anyhow, thanks for hanging, thanks for being patient, all of that good stuff. So here, like I said, now, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but I have that. It's almost like using a gray marker. And with this brush, you can vary the line weight a little bit as well. All right, so there's our top grid. Daily lives are brilliant. Thank you. You know, I figure there's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of things you guys can watch and do. So just to give you something different, I think the lives, and they're fun for me. But yeah, if there's any suggestions that you guys have, like yesterday, the request was sports equipment. So I was like, oh, yeah, I can look into that. And I just picked 2. But if you have suggestions for tomorrow, we do Sci-Fi Sunday. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Anything sci-fi themed. It could even be products. I think last time Svetlana suggested... Is she watching today? I forget. Maybe she is. Yep, Svetlana and Art suggested a futuristic gramophone. Or no, they suggested a gramophone, and since it was Sci-Fi Sunday, I made it futuristic. So definitely something I can do if there's a product. I'm a little tired of cars and shoes right now, so I haven't been drawing cars or shoes. I haven't done robots in a while, though, so I could do that. So yeah, if you have ideas, a great place to hang out too is on the Discord. If you use Discord, if you don't, that's cool. I did have a Facebook group going, but it's all so much to manage. So I'm probably going to shut that down and kind of push people to the Discord. It's just it's an app you can download, put on your computer or phone. There's people like Tom in there, Jordan, a few others, usernames I don't remember. Alex is in there as well. Latrice hangs out in there. So if you need help, it's a good place to be. Everyone's super helpful. We all love drawing, so yeah, check it out. Thank you, Svetlana. Yeah, I'm working on your other piece as well. So Svetlana asked me to work on another piece, so I'll be sending her some custom art soon. I've never actually mailed anything to Russia, so I hope it gets there and gets there safe, but I'll keep you updated. All right. I feel like this piece here needs something else. So I'm just going to connect these two. Anyhow, one of the benefits of using the gray lines at the beginning is it helps you maintain the consistency of thickness, which is why I did that. And with the thickness consistent, then the entire grid in the front remains consistent as well. New PS5 controller. Let's see, hour 6. I think I could do that tomorrow. I did a controller a few days ago as well, but I mean, technically, since the PS5 controller is not out, it's futuristic. technically. All right, so now for the helmet itself. Trying to decide, do I want to do this black or do I want to do this, you know, as a white helmet? Let's do black. I don't do a lot of black things. And then maybe we'll just do some lightning bolts or something on it. Simple. Okay. So for filling things in apps like these, what I like to do, and I'm going to go like a deep gray to start. Bionic hand, dinosaur robots. Oh, okay. Those are good ideas. I'll jot those down so I don't forget. Dinobots, or Robo Hand. Okay. Okay, so for filling in areas, like I said, just draw on the perimeter here. And I'm going slow. It's under the gray layer. Again, super nice because it obscures everything. Forgot to get the inside of the helmet here. All right, so now I can use the paint bucket tool and just fill that in. And then just to clean up, there's a tiny white line where it couldn't quite fill in all the pixels. A lot of apps do that. In this case, I just have to run a brush around the perimeter, like so. And now I want to be able to go a little bit darker, say on the inside of the helmet, so I'm going to drop my value down. And now just paint on the inside. Just like that. Fill, and we'll just do a quick cleanup of our boundary. And we can also paint in any other dark or shadowed areas. So for example, if this is a pass through, or here, just make that a little darker. I also want to just cast a little bit of a shadow by the grid iron on the helmet, this little grill. Alright, so I'll just throw that in just a little bit. So it's there. And now I have to think about lighting, okay? So if this helmet's shiny, depending on the environment it's in, we're going to have some nice dark tones. So to do that, I'm going to make a new layer above this gray. I'm going to go to full black now. And let's pick one of my airbrushes again. Let me see. Yeah, we can use the core highlighter. I'm going to make it huge. And now just kind of paint. Actually, what I should do is I'm going to tap on this layer, and again, this is where this is a little bit trickier or different. I can paint a selection, so I can actually paint in a selection. Here I'm going to hit lock transparency, but that's really not what I want. I want to, let's see here. I want to select the pixels. Yeah, it's not letting me do it, unfortunately. So I'm just going to go for it. YOLO. Let's do lock transparency. Just as a backup, I want to duplicate this layer. And we can just hide it. All right. I'll use the big soft airbrush. Yeah, I'll use that. But the idea here is just to create a nice dark core almost at the top and fade down to the sides. What just happened? Did I undo it? Oh, my bad. Okay, so there's my layer. And now I have one above, and I'm just going to continue and add a little bit of a coarse shadow. And now what I want to do is make another new layer, and we're going to take our solid hard round brush, and I'm going to go with white. Just make it a little bigger. And not quite to the edge. But I'm basically creating a shape here that I can use as a reflective area. Now we'll fix this up. Okay, so I'm just catching some reflections. And then I'll do another layer on top. We'll kind of do the same thing. No use painting it or using the paint bucket if it's, you know, a small enough area. All right, so I've got these bright white areas now. Medical stuff. Yeah, we could do some futuristic medical looking things. That's from Eve Clement. All right, so now I'm going to take this layer and let's drop the opacity way down. Same thing on this other layer. Let's drop it down. You could even vary them depending on, you know, depending on the light in your scene. And now, let's see. Alex says, I think about picking a mega fan on your Patreon. You help me so much. Well, thanks, man. That's generous of you. Yeah, there's a level on the Patreon that's like a lot, but you do get a free lesson every month. So if you're interested in that, and that's just a personal Zoom or live stream just for you or your team or group or whatever. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, let's make a new layer, and I'm going to pick my big softy brush again, and let's go with black. And now I can just start painting inside the white here. You could also erase some of the white. I need to make this a little bit bigger. All right, so something like this. Just painting with that black. And we'll do a couple more things here just to pull out any details we may have lost on the top. Like I said, you could either erase some of this or just paint on top. What's up, Chris? Get those warm-ups in, man. I got your email. I will get back to you. No worries. So what I was saying is, like, on top here, I'm going to make another new layer, and I want to capture some of these little details, okay? So let's adjust the size, and now I can just paint in with the marker. And it's kind of cool, you get a little texture out of it as well for free. Just kind of working this with that marker brush a little bit on the outside where we may have some reflected light. Here we had this little detail. So now we're just painting with light. Okay, just pulling out any details that need just a little bit of help. But black is hard to render, just because, you know, you look at something black and you think, oh, it's black, so everything's black. If it's in a neutral environment, sure, which is kind of my assumption here, that this is in a neutral environment. But if it's like outdoors or anything like that, you're gonna get lots of reflections being picked up, and you may have instances where the black actually picks up some of the color. All right, so I'll keep working the helmet here, and then we'll switch to the grid, maybe a little shadow, some graphics, and we'll call it good. But still using this marker brush for the inside and trying to introduce some contrast just along the edge here. Hopefully not too hard for you to see. That's where we are so far. All right, so now let's go ahead and get the grid. How would you sketch black in a black environment? Good question. You'd probably just have a similar thing to this, except less. I'll have to think about that one. I mean, if it's black in a black environment, you won't see it. So if there's immediately when there's light, these reflections would probably be isolated more to the shapes of the lights. But maybe I'll take up that challenge. That'll be a good one. Okay, so I've got this crisp air highlighter, and I'm hoping my hand is steady enough today for me to use this. But let's go ahead and move this layer up, and I'll erase this. I need a smaller version of my air highlighter. Yeah, there we go. So I think I can use this. But the reason I like this one is it has a nice core that's tight. If you've used my Procreate brushes before, it's very similar to the crisp core highlighter that's available there. Now remember, this gridiron is cylindrical in shape, so what I'm doing is just putting the coarse shadow in the right places so that it reads as being cylindrical. Because I have that base gray color already, it's doing double duty for us. All right, so now it's starting to feel more three-dimensional. Oops, sorry. There we go. More three-dimensional. Sketch a product in a dark room. Yeah, that would be interesting for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so we'll just keep working this. So are you guys doing anything fun today? I hope you are. I'm continuing to work on some personal projects, updating the website like I mentioned. All that stuff will be coming soon. I thought about traveling this weekend, but by travel I mean just a little road trip. But that didn't pan out, so just gonna lay low. I did run my fastest time this morning, so that was good. And I'm not going to tell you how fast it was or slow because it was really slow, but fast for me. So I was feeling good. Again, despite everything terrible in the world, gotta stay healthy. And I'm really excited for my music that I'm getting made for the channel. I've heard some samples so far, previews, and my man Paul Sohi is killing it. I'm excited. Alright, so I've got some darks here. Now I need some lights. Let's go ahead and bump the contrast in a few spots. And just so you know, this is not arbitrary, because again, this cross section is cylindrical. This area I'm saying is my shadow core, so that's why I've increased the contrast of, you know, right here with these shadow cores. It's to say, oh, this is actually, you know, not only a grid of cylindrical shapes, but also you're gonna get light interacting with this differently. Okay, so let's switch to white. New layer. And in this case, I want to move quick. So let me use, I'll just use my stencil, the clean stencil, and we'll kind of get some lines going here. Lightest lights against darkest darks is going to give you your contrast. So right here, for example, now it's starting to pop more. Let's get it in these corners, a few highlights. There was a question earlier, and I think I answered in a way, like I said, I think it was about reflections maybe, or lighting, but just keep your eyes open. Look at the room around you. You'll notice that in the room where a wall changes direction, they could be painted the same color, but there's a shift in value. One's going to appear darker than the other. So that's kind of what I'm trying to achieve here with lightest lights, darkest darks, is to show contrast in value. There we go. I'll just continue highlighting a few things. Smaller version of this brush though. Okay, just a couple white sketch lines to pull out some details. Oh, cool, Tom. Yeah, I'm speaking on a podcast tomorrow. It's the Advanced Design Group. There's a panel of black designers. Sorry, let me focus here. There we go. There's a panel of black designers, and we are going to be speaking on, or I should say minority designers, and we're going to be speaking on diversity in design, because we're not all black. It's interesting too, because when I started industrial design, I didn't meet any black industrial designers for a very long time. And frankly, there's not a lot of us. I've since met many more, but that's been a more recent thing in my career, just seeing how much talent there is out there. Definitely a more recent thing. But yeah, hopefully you can make it. Maybe you can post a link, Tom. I don't know if you're allowed to post links. I can. What's up, Bence? I'll just look it up real quick. send you guys a link. So if you want to catch it, I'm not sure. I always forget this URL. I'm not sure if it's already full. It might be. Yeah, it's sold out. So I'll see if I can get you a special link to the next event, so you guys can join. Sorry about that. Okay, so just a couple more things. I want to enhance the white on the perimeter here just a little bit. So I'm going to use this core highlighter, and let's adjust the size. Still a bit too small, so let's go a bit bigger. Yeah, I just wanted to boost the highlights in a couple areas, like so. And this edge, I needed to read a little bit better on the inside. So I'm going to take my marker brush, my basic marker, and let's use a light gray and just adjust my size here. I just want to hint at, you know, the lining in the helmet. That's all I'm trying to do with this thicker marker. Something like that. And let's see. Yeah, I don't really want to do a logo on it at this point. I think I'm just going to leave it as is. So for the shadow on the ground, just make a new layer in the background, and I can take this big soft airbrush with this gray. And we'll just softly add a shadow. Something like that. And we can even adjust the opacity so that the shadow is there, but it's not interfering with everything, so to speak. All right, let me see if I'm missing anything that I want to include. If you really wanted to, you could add a few things like graphics, like I was saying, but it's the kind of thing where I'd want to plan it out a bit more, and I really didn't. Yellow feels appropriate for some reason. But yeah, maybe there's some sort of graphic that wraps with all this. I don't know, guys, just playing around. But you could do something like that. I guess this is why I'm not working for a sports equipment manufacturer. But yeah, you could just do something like that. And now we have a football helmet. Okay, I'm glad I added the graphics. It helps a little bit. Play with the thickness of some of these lines. Now, I did have this layer that was kind of a shadow. I need to, there we go, adjust the opacity. So now the shadow is being cast on the graphics, and you can see that color mix, which is what I was after. Now, the environment might not be yellow, but we might want to like have a color story or somewhat of a color story. So I'm going to make a new layer. Let's reduce the size here, and just on the perimeter, let's do a little bit of kind of perimeter light. And always adjust the opacity here. So if you paint intensely, don't worry. You can play with our slider. Just have a little bit, make a new layer if we want, reduce the size, create some intense spots. So yeah, we can play with all that until we find something that works. So there's just a hint of yellow on the perimeter. Okay guys, so just to recap, here's our helmet sketch. I'm not going to try and group these layers because unfortunately the grouping in this app is it's in need of some improvement in my opinion, but or being able to select multiple layers. I'm not quite sure how to do that yet. So but we did do our blue red line sketch, came up with this, showed you how to do the gridiron, or at least how I did it. Came up with our final sketch. So that's that one. Now it's saying saving document. Like I said, the cool thing is these are in the cloud, okay? So these are, if I tap on cloud documents, it means that these things are saved on my Creative Cloud and I can access them anywhere. I can hop onto my laptop and you would see, you know, these files as well. And then we also did our oil can sketch using the marker brushes, mostly some airbrush as well, did the reflection, shadow, and all that good stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that presentation for today. I'm going to sign off here in a bit. Just a reminder, I'll be live tomorrow, probably around the same time. I think 10 is kind of working for me. Get my workout in, come back and draw with you guys as well. So yeah, thanks for hanging. Be sure to hit subscribe, turn on alerts, all that good stuff if this is your first time. Thank you so much for hanging out and making my Saturday, and I hope you get out there and draw something. Be like Chris. Chris is doing 30 pages of warm-ups today. So yeah, you know, if you want to get better at drawing, you just have to put the time in. For me, these are my warm-ups today. I'm gonna go get some more drawing done after this, make some stuff, go mow my lawn. I've got a lot of stuff to do. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Easiest way, probably join the Discord or hit me up on Instagram. Those are things I kind of check a lot. You can always email me as well. Appreciate all the support, help. Special extra shout out to the Patreons. I forgot to call you out by name, but we've got Svetlana, Alex, Tom, Matt. Let's see. Actually, I'm not sure if Alex is a Patreon yet. And a bunch of you others in there. So sorry if I missed your name, but I do love you all. And feel free to check that out if you want. But I will see you tomorrow, right around 9-10 Pacific, somewhere around this time. So take care. It will be Sci-Fi Sunday, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.